morning, Tony Ferguson fighting Justin Gaethje for the interim lightweight championship. And things move on quickly from there. You guys are putting on an event, Dana, just a few days later on May 13th, same venue. Give us some information, man. Let's start with the prelims first. We'll get to the main card here in a second, but give me the prelims for that May 13th event.
Well, we're going Saturday, May 9th. We're going Wednesday, May 13th. And then we're going Saturday, May 16th. So Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday on ESPN. And on the Wednesday, the 13th, we have the main event before we go to the main card is Philippe Lins versus Andre Arlovsky. The main event on that card will be Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. And the co-main event for that card is Ben Rothwell versus Ovince St. Preux. OSP is coming back. Then on Saturday, May 16th, so it goes Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. The Saturday, May 16th card, Anthony Hernandez versus Kevin Holland is the fight right before we go into the main card. And then the main event on that card is Walt Harris versus Alistair Overeem. The co-main event for that fight is Claudia Gadelha versus Angela Hill.
Wow. Okay, so obviously some big fights there that you just announced that we got to get to. By the way, you were terrible at following directions. I told you to give me the prelims of the May 13th card, and you're just delivering everything.
I don't listen to what you tell me to do. I do what I want.
you're giving us everything. You're gonna see things in June, by the way. What's happening in June and July while we're at it? So
listen, people haven't had sports in forever. You got to beat people over the head with this Saturday, May 9th. And then we go Wednesday, May 13th. Then we go Saturday, May 16th. Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday.
That is true.
Beating people over the head with how this is going to work.
That is true. I mean, we're all used to, most of us don't even know what day it is anymore. Now, all of a sudden, there's going to be 3 events in 8 days. True. So but we want to get the full cards out. So May 13th, you got the list in front of you? What is the full lineup of fights on that Wednesday, May 13th card?
The whole card? Sijara Eubanks is fighting Sarah Moras. You got Michael Johnson and Thiago Moises. Arlovsky versus Lins. Carl Robertson versus Marvin Vettori. Ricky Simone versus Ray Borg. Alex Hernandez versus Drew Dober. Ben Rothwell versus OSP. And the main event, Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. We also have Brian Kelleher versus Hunter Azur on that card too.
Let me talk about some athletes who changed the sport. And if you guys have been following along, then you probably caught me when I said I'm going to tell you 4. I might tell you 4, but as we go through it, I might have a 5th one I got to put in there. Let's see how this goes. But you have to start with Royce Gracie. Without question, everything that we just saw the last hour of our lives, he showed us something. Not only did he show us an art called jiu-jitsu, not only did he let us know that grappling was a way to defend yourself. If you had some grappling skills and you could grab someone and just defuse it, not only could you protect yourself or win, if you will, a fight, but more importantly, you could do it in a way so that nobody got hurt. And that was very relevant. That's one of the reasons that jiu-jitsu thrived. That's one of the reasons that the gyms and the schools to this day have really thrived because of Royce Gracie. Parents started to see something. Said, I don't want my kid in a tussle, and if he gets in a tussle, I don't want him hurt. But the other side of I really don't want my kid hurting anybody else. If they just can't get it right and something happens, how about we grab the other guy until somebody breaks it up and we all go home in one piece? Well, Royce is the one that taught us there's a way to do that. There's a way to do that in combat. Royce handed this baton off to a man who is probably the most underappreciated fighter of all time, king of the streets, Marco Ruas. Marco Ruas established himself in, I believe, 1997. That's off the top of my head. Might have been 1996. It was 1996 because he was in the Ultimate. But when Marco Ruas established himself, he came out of Brazil, where the best fighters in the world were coming out of. The internet was still a developing thing. So to find out who these fighters even were, ESPN Plus was not even a term. YouTube was not even a term. Facebook was not even a word for a whole nother decade. I mean, just to put it in perspective for you, you could keep secret. If you had some great guy with great skills and he lived in Brazil and you're producing a show out of North America, you're never going to heard of the guy until he gets in front of the camera. That's exactly what happened with Marco Ruas. And when Marco came in, guys, he was the first fighter ever to be said, to have equal skills standing as he had on the ground. Now, he was a Brazilian with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but he comes out and he wins his first fight stand-up. Took on a guy named Paul Varlins, great big guy. And Marco was a pretty good, Marco went about 225 the right way himself. He looked pretty athletic. Marco was throwing jabs and finishing everything with leg kicks, He ultimately wins this fight by kicking Paul Varlins in the leg so many times that Paul Varlins falls over. I mean, just like chopping down a tree. But Hoist comes in and shows us in 1993, or me, I got to see it first time in 1994, that grappling was something. So we had to live for a period of time believing whoever was the better grappler was going to be the winner in these kind of contests. Marco came along and said, not so fast. You can do it with striking as well, as long as you have the grappling should the fight go there. We fight in two dimensions. We fight on the floor and we fight on the feet. Why not learn how to compete in both of those? I believe when you talk about Marco, who was every compliment that I just paid Marco, you'd have to say about Don Fry. So I'm not ready to add Don to this list. I feel as though if you go look at those guys, particularly with the time that they came in, you're essentially talking about the same guy. But that baton was then passed to Randy Couture. And what Randy Couture brought to the sport that was different than nobody had ever seen, and I'm well aware you're going to go, well, Chael, duh. Yeah, I got it. But we didn't know until we knew. Randy was a world-class athlete. And that was significantly different. That is not the kind of guys that were going in to cage fighting and mixed martial arts. They just weren't. They weren't setting goals on that. They didn't have. They didn't look at the sport from a nutritional standpoint. They did not look at the sport from a conditioning perspective. They didn't look at it tactically. Randy Couture was the first guy to ever sit down, get videos of his opponents, take notes. Yeah, I know, obvious, right? He was the first. And then go out and put something together known as a game plan. He would actually strategize. He will go and make sure that he was in shape just in case this came to a tough guy contest of who can hang in here longer than the other. But he was the first to do that. So the baton gets passed to Randy, and then ultimately, I would say it was passed to George St. Pierre. I think that George would be the final here, because George was the one athlete to come out and really show us the importance of weaponizing pace. If you can weaponize pace, if you've got a couple more bullets left in the chamber and your opponent is out, he can't fire anymore just on exhaustion. It really doesn't matter who knows more. That is largely where the belt system.
Because of course, after he came out and he spoke, all over and said, he's done with this, he has eyes set on this and that. And you basically said, well, it almost felt like once he was always looking for an opportunity to run. And once he got one, he just ran with it. But why do you think he did that? I mean, have you had any contact with him since, either officially?
Nah, not really. We'll go back and forth on Twitter a lot, but apart from that, like since the fasting cancelled, he's not mentioned my name once. You know what I mean? And he's calling out lightweights. He's calling out Israel, the middleweight champion. He's calling out everyone apart from me, which is weird. You know what I mean? If somebody want to fight me, like I'm a powerful individual, so if I knew that a guy want to fight me that bad, I'll want to fight back. You know what I mean? I wouldn't like go running and looking for other options, and I think I'm the best fight in the division for where he's at to compete against. Kobe's coming off a loss. Masvidal's fighting Usman. I am the next best thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what it is. He just literally don't want to fight me. I don't think he's scared, because I think he will fight me. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
What's up, guys? It's Daniel Cormier. I just wanted to give a quick positive message to the more than 1,000 kids that have had their Make-A-Wish wishes postponed due to the pandemic associated with COVID-19. I know it seems difficult right now. I know you guys look so forward to these wishes. Know that when all this is done, those wishes will be granted. People don't want anything more than to try and help to give you guys that positive experience. And for the rest of us, let's do what we can to try to help them stay positive by going to snv.wish.org/wishes are coming. Let's do our part, guys. These kids need to be encouraged during this difficult time, and we can provide that. So once again, go to snv.wish.org/wishes are coming.
We're gonna show you guys how much he loves their steak and potatoes. Dutch, sit. Sit. Good boy. Oh yeah. You see those doggy treats? You see those hump treats? You want a treat? Sit. Good boy. Down. Good boy. Oh no.
Yeah, funny.
Happy Saturday, everybody. It's almost fight week.